Hi guys. I guess I should say welcome back to what I guess you could consider the second episode of the Jaxel's final thoughts. I don't know. People call it the power hour these days. People just want to hear me rant. Last time I did The Walking Dead, I got some pretty good reviews on that video. But this video is pretty much going to be the same way. You know, I'm not really going to do much when it comes to post-editing. You should know that most of my work is in live editing, because I stream and shit like that. And because of that, I don't do a lot of After Effects or Adobe Photoshop. I don't even have the programs. So this is just going to be a straight up recording. I'm going to talk. I'm not really going to cut in any videos except what's playing in the background. This is just some random video I found on YouTube from, I don't know, it says Let's Play. So it's Let's Play, Parte 6, I guess it's in French. Whatever. So, you know, you guys know me. I like to play games for story. I don't care much. Well, I do care about the gameplay. It's got to be decent. But when it comes down to it, what really matters is the story. And if the story doesn't cut it, then the game doesn't cut it. So, but this time I decided to review two games at once instead, just one. I have Assassin's Creed 3 and Far Cry 3. Now, you could have watched me play these games live. If you did, it would have been on twitch.tv/8wayrun, as it's spelled out on my hat. 8-way run with a number. If you did, thank you for watching. You know, this is just my final reviews. You probably heard already most of what I'm going to say because you watched it live, and that's like 40-50 hours of video. But this is condensed into hopefully which will be less than half an hour. The reason why I decided to do both these videos at the same time, both these games at the same time in one video, that is because they're both released and published, developed and published by Ubisoft Montreal. Ubisoft. And they're both pretty much the same exact game, and yet both completely different at the same time. And I'm going to go into why and what makes one game better than the other. If you've watched my videos live, you already know which one I'm going to say is better. But before we do that, let's talk about the real differences. Besides, of course, the settings and the story differences, this game, Assassin's Creed, is built using an in-house game engine from Ubisoft called Anvil Next, and this game is built using a Crytek engine called CryEngine. It says CryEngine. All right, it uses the Cry-engine. So Anvil Next versus CryEngine. And even though the games are exactly the same, the engines make the game feel completely different. Before we get into what I think about Assassin's Creed 3, which I am going to be doing Assassin's Creed 3, then Far Cry 3, I'm a big fan of the Assassin's Creed series, as you can see by my Ezio statue here. I actually really liked the first Assassin's Creed game. Most people didn't like it because they felt it was repetitive. But I didn't mind that because I thought the story was great. I've always been a big fan of the whole precursor civilization or ancient aliens theory. Stargate is actually one of my favorite movies and TV show spin-offs. And even the spin-offs of the TV show are fantastic. It's great, love it, it's good sci-fi. And I've really been interested in the whole ancient aliens theory ever since because of Stargate. Did I say Star Trek? I meant to say Stargate. That's some good stuff. And you know, I really like Desmond's stories in Assassin's Creed, and I like the idea with the polytheistic religions like Greek mythology, Roman mythology, and Norse mythology. It really plays, and even like Indian mythology. It all plays very well together, and they all have the same exact characters, and they're all more human. There isn't this one holy omnipotent God who is infallible and whatever. And I've never really cared about that. I like these religions because they made the gods feel like people. And, because of that, I really liked Assassin's Creed, and I like the present day setting. So Assassin's Creed 2, great game, everybody loved it, not much more to talk about it. They took everything that was great in Assassin's Creed 1 and made it better. But of course, this is Ubisoft, and Ubisoft is a big publisher, and they need to make money, so they're going to keep shoveling out shit. So they released a sequel to Assassin's Creed 2 called Assassin's Creed Brotherhood, which was single player was absolutely atrocious. Only the last half hour mattered, so you could just skip it all until the last half hour. You would have been fine. And if you didn't play the last half hour, Revelations would have confused the shit out of you. But what it did have was excellent multiplayer, which is weird because I usually don't like to play multiplayers I don't like online multiplayer. I like couch multiplayer. I like playing against people who are sitting next to me in the same room, or at least people I know if it has to be online. But the multiplayer in this game was so different, so refreshing, that it was probably worth the price of entry alone. Assassin's Creed Revelation, like I said, Ubisoft continue shoveling out shit, keep on making that money. They can get bad reviews, but they're laughing all the way to the bank. They released Revelations, which was a sequel to Brotherhood. It's just bad single player, just the same. And then the multiplayer that was great in Brotherhood, they fucked up, so just as bad. And then we get to Assassin's Creed 3. And you hear how poorly I speak about Brotherhood and Revelations. Let me just say, Assassin's Creed 3 is the worst Assassin's Creed game I have ever played. This is an absolutely atrocious game. And before I get into the single player, let's talk about the multiplayer. The multiplayer is the exact same thing as Revelations. Not good. They pretty much didn't change it. They kept all the complaints that people had about Revelations and kept it the same game. They didn't listen to anybody. They didn't care. They were just making their game. Assassin's Creed 3, my problem with this game is the story, the characters. You didn't care about that. In Assassin's Creed 2, you saw Ezio grow up from being a teenager all the way until the point where he's probably 60 at the end of Revelations. And it's actually a character you care about. You cared about him. You felt him age. You felt him grow. Assassin's Creed 3 has an even longer arc in that you play from when the Connor is a boy to when he becomes an adult. So you should see even more character development, and yet for some reason you see less. And it's because Connor, even as an adult, never grows up. He's a child when he's a child. He's a child when he's an adult. And there's even a point in the game where, I can't remember the name of one of the bad guys, but he's the guy you know he's going to go evil because he just looks evil. He basically calls Connor a child and tells him to grow up. And as he does, I'm like, yes, that's what I'm trying to say. Grow the fuck up. And now if even the characters in the game think that the main character is childish, how am I going to think? Am I going to think he's childish as well? Yes. So therefore, I think he's childish. And yet, how can I relate to him if I think he's childish? I think he's everything that's... He's a terrible character. There's no reason for him to be that way. And I forgot who it was. I think it was Luke from Kotaku, who said the game was like Forrest Gump. In that, in the movie Forrest Gump, we got to see Forrest. He did jumps from major major American event to a major American event. And, you know, as the viewer, we were able to look back and say, yes, I remember that. Yes, that happened. I guess he took part in it. That's funny. That's great. Ha 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 ha. But this game pretty much tried to do the same thing, but didn't do it well, because while Forrest Gump had reasons to be where he was, there's no reason for Connor to be where he is. Connor, oh, he was there at the Boston Massacre. Okay. Connor, he was there at the Boston Tea Party. Well, I guess, you know, the Boston Tea Party had the Colonials dressing up as Mohawks. Therefore, Connor, he's a Mohawk. Why can't he be there as well? Yeah, but wouldn't you think that Connor would be like, why the fuck are you dressing up like my people? What the fuck is wrong with you? But, you know, but there are other places where it doesn't make sense either, like the Midnight Ride of Paul Revere. There's no reason for Connor to be there. The Battle of Lexington and Concord. I'm pretty sure that during the American Revolution, the revolutionaries had their own army. I'm pretty sure there was something called the Revolutionary Army, you know, and they have generals. They have their own structure of command. They have, you know, the lower ranked people, they pay respects to the upper ranked people, and everything goes upwards. But in this game, at like the Battles of Lexington and Concord, they're like, hey, Connor, you're not a member of the military. Nobody knows who you are. See our troops over there? They don't know who you are. Yet, we think they're going to listen to you. Why don't you control our troops and command the battle? Why? He's not a military strategist. You know, they say that George Washington was a pretty bad military leader. If he's putting Connor in control, I can see why. I can see why he never really won any major campaign. And when you got people like Connor in command, I can definitely see it because he's not in the military. There's no reason for him to be in this game. Even the idea that Connor is a member of the Assassin's Guild. Why is Connor a member of the Assassin's Guild? Because Haytham, spoiler by the way, because Haytham, his father, is a member of the Templar Guild. Therefore, Connor's a member of the Assassin's Guild. Okay? I mean, like, he didn't grow up with as a... I mean, like, he didn't follow the Assassin's Guild guidelines. He didn't... it wasn't part of his life. He wasn't brought up with that code of honor for it. There's no reason for him to be a member of the Assassins, let alone in the game at all. But that's just the story, and the story was convoluted and bad. But I did like the Desmond sections because I cared about Desmond's stories. I even liked the ending, which most people hated because they don't like Desmond's story. I liked Desmond's story. I thought the ending was great. And as bad as the game was, when the game ended and Desmond's story ended, I was like, I want to play Assassin's Creed 4 now. I need to continue Desmond's story, and maybe it'll now be in the setting that I care about. Or at least I do care about the American Revolution, but at least maybe they'll do it in a way where I won't feel like there's no purpose to this. Like, this is fucking stupid. But, you know, the Desmond stuff really goes to show you how the Anvil engine in this game fails. Because when you're controlling Desmond, the game feels great. He's lightweight. He's wearing a sweater. He's got maybe a pistol. That's about it. He's got a backpack too. That's about it. He's lightweight. He's small. He's parkour. He moves in and out. But Connor he's in this armor. He's got all this equipment. He moves slow. He's got big, bulky shoulders. He moves sluggish. Now, if I had been just playing the game with just Connor, maybe I wouldn't have felt so bad about his controls. But when you put it side by side with controlling Desmond, like I just controlled Desmond, now I'm gonna go back to playing Connor. Connor suddenly feels sluggish. He feels like he controls like shit, and it's just exemplified when you put it right next to Desmond. And the controls are a huge problem with the game. I remember in Assassin's Creed 1 they had a low profile mode and a high profile mode, and within the high profile mode there was a hold X to climb, and so running in high profile and climbing in high profile were different buttons. So you never climbed when you wanted to run, and you didn't run when you wanted to climb. And maybe it's because Desmond's missions are a bit wider, they're designed differently. I didn't have an issue, but in Connor's missions, everything's closed space. So you're running, and your character for some random reason will stick to something and just start randomly climbing it, and you're like, stop climbing, I want you to fucking run. I'm running away from people, or I'm chasing somebody, and you want to climb this fucking wall. Now I gotta start the mission over because fuck you, that's why. And it's another problem people had with Infamous. There's no reason to have everything focused on one button, because yeah, it does make the game easier to control, but it makes it more frustrating when the controls don't do exactly what you want it to. Contextual controls is a problem I have with both Assassin's Creed and Far Cry 3, which I'll get into later. Now, Assassin's Creed 3 is just poor design decision after design decision. And it's like putting Desmond up right next to Connor controls is a poor design decision. There are points in the game where I'm watching a cutscene, and then as the cutscene's happening, things start moving. I'm like, oh wait, I'm in control again? I didn't even realize. So I start walking forward. I walk forward about 10 feet, and then another cutscene starts. And I'm like, what was the purpose of that? Why did I just watch a cutscene, control for 10 seconds, watch another cutscene? I like cutscenes. I do. I don't mind cutscenes. But there was no reason for me to take control of the character in between cutscenes. Not to mention because now I have to wait through more fucking loading times because this game's loading times are insane. Why did I have to walk that 10 feet? Why couldn't that have just been part of the cutscene? And you know, things could have moved faster. We wouldn't have waited for the extra loading times, and we could have moved on from it. It was just, why am I controlling here? And the loading times in this game make... If I push start to pause the game, I have to wait through a loading time. I don't know if you guys have seen it. This random video, if he pauses, sometimes there's a delay, and he has to wait. I don't know, is he playing on... Yeah, he's playing on Xbox or computer, I'm not sure. And maybe he doesn't have the loading issues because Ubisoft games are always programmed so poorly on the PS3. But you pause. Oh, you know what it is? I see it now. He's skipping through the loading scenes, so you're not seeing it. But you pause. You have to wait a second or two for the pause menu to come up. You hit select to bring up your map. You have to wait a second or two for the map to show up. And it's like, why am I waiting for this? It doesn't make any sense. Why is this programmed so poorly? Why are the menus so sluggish? There's no reason for it. And there's non-stop loading times. It's just absolutely insane. And the gameplay, everything in the game feels like busy work. Everything. There's no purpose for half the stuff they put in the game except to waste your time, except to pad out the length of the game. For instance, you see a chest. The chest is guarded by 5 guys. I kill the 5 guys, and then I open the chest, right? Wrong. The chest, you have to pick the lock. You pick the lock. You move the thumbsticks around. I forgot who said it. I think it was Angry Joe, who said that this is the best lock picking in any game he's ever seen. This is how lockpicking should be in every game. And I felt like, no, this lockpicking, you move thumbsticks around and it unlocks. It's terrible lockpicking because 1, it's easy. 2, you can't fail. And 3, it's a waste of time. I mean, it's easy. You can't fail to the point where you play other games that have lockpicking. For instance, let's talk about Fallout and you're hacking a computer. You hack the computer. If you fail, alarms go off. You know, people come and attack you. In this game, there's no alarms because it's not there in the setting. There's no penalty for failing. In fact, you can't even fail. You just move the thumbsticks around until the thing opens. There's no wrong way to move the thumbsticks. If you move the thumbsticks the wrong way, it doesn't say you failed and then back you out. No, you just keep on continuing until eventually you hit the right positions. There's no penalty for it. Therefore, it's a waste of time. Why even have it in the game? Why make me waste the 2 minutes to do it? Because to waste my time. No one's going to attack you while you're lockpicking, so why is it there? I mean, in some games you sneak through stuff, you lockpick, and you hope you can get your lockpicking done before someone turns around and sees you. No one's going to turn around and see you in this game, so why is it there? I mean, in Assassin's Creed 1, there were side missions. There were like 4, and you kept repeating the same side missions over and over and over again. It's why people said it was repetitive. In this game, I did nothing twice. The game is, there's nothing repetitive in the game, at least in side missions. It's just you do something, and then the next side mission you do is a different mission. Now, problem is, they all felt like busy work, even though none of it was repeating. It all felt like, why am I doing this? There's no reason for me to be doing this. Why am I building my homestead? What's the purpose of this? There's no reason for it. Why am I hunting these people? It makes no sense. Why am I, if all I want to kill is this one guy, why don't I walk up and fucking kill him? Why am I spending 15 years building this shit up so that I can get my revenge? Why can't I just get my revenge? I mean, Connor doesn't care about the American Revolution. He talks in the game how he doesn't care about the American Revolution. So why is his revenge plot based on the timeline of the American Revolution? Why doesn't he just walk up to Haytham and fucking stab him and call it a day? There's no... You can't, because you can't get close to Haytham. I saw you close to Haytham several times. Just drop down and fucking stab him. There's no reason for anything in this game. And that's the biggest problem with the game. There's no reason for anything in Connor's plot. You know, in Desmond's story, the purpose of running through his ancestors' memories is to see where they hit the pieces of Eden. Why can't you just fast forward to the end? I mean, you know, like fast forward, you know, we have that on VCRs. Why can't we have it in the animes? But yeah, that's a big problem with the game. The story is just bad. The gameplay is glitchy as shit. When the game launched, like 50% of the people who played the game could not get the Platinum Trophy. Because if you guys don't have a PSN or PlayStation, Platinum Trophy is basically 100% trophy. Everybody gets it the moment they get every other trophy in the game. And a lot of people can't get it, myself included, because of glitches. There's a glitch happen, you can't get a trophy. Now, there's been 4 or 5 patches now to fix all these issues, but I still can't get the Platinum because one of the glitch I have, that even though I've done all the requirements of it, I can't get. It says because the game is glitchy and there's no reason for these glitches. In Gran Turismo 2, people got upset because you couldn't get the last 0.03% of the game on the save file. You know, that save file, it says 99.97%, and people got upset by that. And that was before trophies and achievements. Now we got that, and it's got these issues. So poorly programmed. But, which of course brings me to Far Cry 3. Far Cry 3, made by the same people, and yet programmed well. And it has nothing to do with the people who programmed the game. It has to do with the engine. The Anvil engine used in Assassin's Creed 3 is glitchy, buggy, half-baked. The Crytek engine used in Far Cry 3 is fantastic. They've been using it in lots of games. The game looks beautiful because of it. And it even looks like it could be a PC game on the PS3. The graphics are great. The resolution is great. There's no lag. Actually, there is a little bit of lag, and it's because of Ubisoft. When I hit select in this game to bring up the map, works perfectly fine. No lag. When I hit start to bring up the pause menu, it has to lag. But it's not the game that lags. It's anytime you pause in Far Cry 3, it has to bring up Ubisoft's Uplay system, has to connect to the internet to compare your scores with your friends and whatnot. I'm like, I don't care about this. Why is it every time I pause the game, I have to wait 2 seconds for you to connect to Uplay? Why can't I just, the game would probably be easier if I unplugged my Ethernet cable and then it didn't have this issue. The worst was Christmas Day. I was playing the game. I'm a Jew. I don't celebrate Christmas. I was playing it. I was streaming it. People were watching. We were all enjoying ourselves. But I guess people at Ubisoft were on vacation. They're celebrating Christmas with their family. So the servers went down. No one was there to fix it. I hit pause, and now not only it would have been fine if I had to wait 1 or 2 seconds for the pause menu to load. But because now the Ubisoft servers are down, I hit pause and I have to sit there and wait for 30 seconds for Ubisoft to say, for the game to say unable to connect to Uplay servers, and then bring me to the pause menu. And it's like, why? What is the reason for this? I don't want to. It's an offline game. It's a single-player game. Why do I always have to be connected to the internet? So I pause it, and every time I pause this game, and you have to pause the game a lot, by the way, to bring up your skills menu and whatnot, every time you pause the game, it has to lag. And because the servers were down, it took 30 seconds to pause the game every fucking time. And I should have just played it offline now that I think about it, but I completely forgot. But beyond that, the game is very good. It's significantly different than Assassin's Creed 3 in that there actually is character development. Assassin's Creed 3, like I said, you start when Connor is a child and he grows into an adult. There's like a 20-year gap in there. Far Cry 3, I think it spends 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks. And there is more character development in those 3 weeks than you get in all of Connor over his course of his entire life. And you never actually see Jason Brody in Far Cry 3 because it's a first-person game. So you don't see any character development. It's just in the way he talks and he deals with people. And he grows. He starts from being a dirty Jersey douchebag is probably the best term I've heard for it. He's a dirty Jersey douchebag. Right at the beginning, they're in Bangkok. He's a douchebag. He's that my new haircut, not now, chief, I'm in the fucking zone. That kind of guy. And you're like, oh god, this guy, fuck, I hate this guy already. And the game just starts. And by the end, you like him, you know? You're him. You feel like him. Oh, by the way, my name is Jason. So, as a first-person game, normally when you play a game and the characters speak to you, they say the character's name, and even if it was Jason, there wouldn't be an issue because you can see the character and you know they're talking to that character. But because this game is first person, anytime a character starts saying Jason and starts talking to me, it felt so weird because they were actually talking to me and saying my name. It's very odd, and I'm sure none of you have that issue because your name's not Jason. But, as you can see, I played the game on PS3. And I can't recommend playing it on PS3. Good game. I enjoyed it, definitely. But there are problems on console. It's not a PS3 problem. It's a console problem in general. Not enough buttons on the controller, naturally. Same problem I had with Assassin's Creed 3, where there were contextual controls. You try to do too many things on a single button, and healing and putting fire out is the same button. So half the time I've got no health, I'm on fire, I'm like, let me, give myself a syringe and heal myself. And as I do it, my character starts putting fire out. And the prompt for the fire never even popped up. But because I'm on fire, he'll start putting his fire out, and then he'll die because he has no health. I'm like, I didn't want him to put the fire out. The fire will go out eventually. It doesn't matter. It does like no damage. I want you to fucking heal and get full health. There's more health in a heal than putting fire out. But because he didn't, because it's the same goddamn button, that's just the way it is. Not to mention the putting fire out, healing, changing weapons, all the same button. Half the time I want to heal, and my character switches weapons, and then I get shot in the head. I'm like, I should have healed. Well, fuck you, I should have healed. And that's the problem with controls. There's not enough buttons. But the biggest problem with the controls with Far Cry 3 is as you're playing it, you can really tell its lead platform is PC. When you see a PC shooter, they're used with mice to control the screen. So there's no, I'd say, acceleration, pointer acceleration. That's a computer term. Like if I'm got my mouse here and I want to click here, I just go boop and that's it. It's a steady speed, nothing changes. But something that console shooters do is they will actually do something called acceleration. So you'll have your screen here, and rather than just go boom at normal speed, it'll actually speed up. And eventually, by the time, it probably only takes half a second, maybe a full second at some of the, depending on your settings. But there's an acceleration speed. You start out slow and get faster the more you turn. And you can see it in most games you play. And the reason it does this is because you don't have a mouse movement. You need to have a way to have those very slight movements at those light taps. And you can't do it if those light taps are always moving at full speed. This game doesn't do that because it's a PC game. They don't make console shooters. They didn't realize about the need for pointer acceleration. Because it's a PC configuration, it's not a game configuration. It's you go into your configuration, your control panel on Windows, and you do it in your mouse settings. And it's not something that they think about, so they didn't put it in. And it took me a while to get used to it, but it is a fundamental problem. But it really doesn't detract much from how I feel about the game, because I eventually did get used to it. Still think it's a good game, and even though it has the same side quest stuff that Assassin's Creed 3 does, which is why I say it's pretty much the exact same game. You're going up towers, you're doing your assassin's vision. In this game, you're disabling a radar jammer on a radio tower, but it's the same thing. It spins around and looks at the area you just unlocked and shows all the missions available in the area. It's got side missions to do. It's all the same exact thing. But in Far Cry 3, it felt like I was actually accomplishing something. Everything I was doing felt like a purpose. Like, I was talking about Assassin's Creed 3, why don't you just walk up and kill Haytham? In Far Cry 3, he couldn't just walk up and kill the bad guy because he had to lure the bad guy. He had to find the bad guy's plans, where he'd be available. And, in order to get his revenge. So there made sense on why he was doing the things he was doing. Especially because he wanted that pussy. But but there was reasons for him to be doing what he did in Far Cry 3 that I just did not find in Assassin's Creed 3. And Far Cry 3 was like half the game. Half the length, I mean. And I just felt I felt more engrossed in it, like I had more involved in the story because of it. I felt more for the characters. I felt like they were acted realistically. I can see why they were there. I cared about the characters, and I wanted to save them, or I wanted to kill the bad guys. Assassin's Creed 3 didn't have that. Now, Far Cry 3 is an open world FPS game, a sandbox FPS game. I normally don't play FPS games, because I think Unreal Tournament 2004 is the best FPS game ever made. And the reason why I don't play FPS games is because they're all the same. They're a dime a dozen. There's a new FPS game every week. But that's because most FPS games are based on multiplayer. This game is based on single player. Multiplayer is not that good. It's not even worth consideration. It's shovelware. It's put in there, click off a check on the box. But how long have I been talking? 32 minutes. Jesus Christ! I was hoping to get this under an hour, but but single player, open world, it means you can play the game however the hell you want. You want to be stealthy, you can be stealthy. You want to go action, run and gun Rambo style, you can do that. I chose stealth. Given the option, if stealth is feasible, I will always choose stealth because I try to avoid combat because I don't have the reflexes to do that Twitch gameplay. Now, this is a major problem with Assassin's Creed 3. I did this game with stealth because for me, it was easier to do stealth than it is to run into an outpost and just start killing anybody. Even though killing everybody in outpost would take 1 minute and the stealth takes 15, I'll take the 15 because for me it's more fun. I like stealth. I always go stealth if stealth is an option. Assassin's Creed 3, I never did this stealth except the missions that force you to do stealth because stealth is not an option. Stealth is so slow, and action, running Rambo style in this game is so easy that there's no reason not to do it because the stealth didn't always work. You'd be hiding, you'd be stealthing, and then some random person would discover you from like 10 million feet away. You're like, why am I discovered? I was trying to do stealth here and I can't because the game doesn't make it feasible. I mean, they talk about running through trees, but you know, they wanted to make the trees as seamless as running through buildings in the previous games, but the trees weren't that way because the trees went wherever the way they wanted to go, and they never went like, I want to go that way. The trees are going that way. That means I can't run on the trees. Running on trees is a waste of fucking time because the trees never go where you want to go. I just say, you know what, I'll jump off the trees, I'll run on the ground. It's faster. You know, it's even faster than the horse because the horse controlled like shit. But going in and talking about taking over an outpost in Assassin's Creed 3, yeah, I could have stealthed. I could have killed the guys one by one, but the game is so easy. They made the game so fucking easy that it was easier to just say, you know what, I'm just going to run into the outpost, aggro every NPC in the area and just start killing them one by one. They've got this big circle around me. They'll attack me at like one person at a time. I'll just parry kill, parry kill, parry kill, parry kill. And they'll say, yeah, there's different types of enemies. You have to do different different things to counter them. But there's really only like 3 types of enemies. And you do the 3 different things, they're still dead immediately. And it was just so not feasible to do stealth in Assassin's Creed, which is supposed to be a stealth game, that I just said, fuck it, I'll just run and kill everybody. It's so much faster, it's easier, and I'm not enjoying the stealth in the game. And the game is based around stealth. And that's another, oh, someone sent me a message. And it's another problem I have with the game. It just, there's no reason for everything that's in the game. Bad design decision. But Far Cry 3, this is a good game. Definitely a lot better than Assassin's Creed 3. Which is interesting because if you look at, well, it is January 1st for me while I'm recording this, so it's 2013, which means 2012 just ended, and that means we have Game of the Years. And you look at the VGAs, and the VGAs nominated Assassin's Creed 3, Journey, The Walking Dead, Dishonored, and one other game that I can't remember. But you notice that they nominated Assassin's Creed 3 and did not nominate Far Cry 3. You look at other outlets and they've nominated Far Cry 3. And you look at all these outlets and generally they all tend to nominate similar games, but then not similar games. Every single outlet has nominated both Journey and Assassin's Creed 3. Not every outlet has nominated The Walking Dead. Not every outlet has nominated Far Cry. Not every outlet has nominated Dishonored. Not every outlet has nominated Halo. Not every outlet has nominated Call of Duty. And yet, not Call of Duty, never mind. Only one outlet nominated Call of Duty game trailers, but we'll talk about that in a moment. Halo has won some Game of the Years from some outlets. Walking Dead has won Game of the Year from some outlets. Journey has won some Game of the Years from some outlets. Dishonored has won a few. XCOM has won a few. Far Cry 3 has won a few. You know what game hasn't won any Game of the Year awards? Assassin's Creed 3. And that really makes you think, like, you know, in order for a game to be nominated, someone around the press table where they're talking about what games to nominate and they argue about this shit, someone has to make a case for Assassin's Creed 3 to be Game of the Year material. And if someone makes a case, that means on someone's list, it's Game of the Year. And yet on nobody's list is a Game of the Year. I look at like a Game Informer's list where they have every person on staff writes their own list. They've got this big 2-page spread where it's like 30 people, each with their own list, and none of them have Assassin's Creed 3 anywhere near the top because it's not a good game. So if it's not a good game and no one's giving it Game of the Year, why are some people nominating it? Why are there cases being made that it's Game of the Year material? And I'll tell you why. And that's because critic journalism, it's not just game journalism, you see it in all critic fields, are about favors. You get invited to junkets, you get invited to press events. I've been invited to a few, by the way, and I see how it is. And you go to these press events, and it's not about the game at these events. It's about the party. It's about the people. It's about, making connections. The free alcohol, the free hors d'oeuvres and whatnot. And that's all it's about. And if you don't play nice, you're not going to get invited to these events anymore. So when you look at the VGAs, and they nominated Assassin's Creed 3, but did not nominate Far Cry 3, and you wonder why. It's like, even though Far Cry 3, everybody's saying is a fantastic game, why didn't the VGAs nominate it? And I'll tell you why. It's because favors. They nominate Journey because they need to make that statement for, they need to nominate a Sony game. They nominate Halo because they need to nominate a Microsoft game. They nominate The Walking Dead because they need to nominate a indie darling. They nominate other games because they need to play an EA game. They nominate an Ubisoft game. There are big publishers, and they have to show that, hey, Ubisoft, we're acknowledging you. Keep playing nice with us for 2013. We're being nice to you, so that's how it is. So they see Assassin's Creed 3, they're like, this is Ubisoft's big game. We need to play nice to Ubisoft, so let's just put it on the list. Say, hey, Ubisoft, we acknowledged you with a nomination. Therefore, keep inviting us to your future events. Keep giving us exclusives. And they do it because that's just the way it is. That's how journalism works these days. It's more about making friends and making connections rather than actually keeping your customers informed. It's not about giving. That's why the best reviews are always from like unknown reviewers on the internet, because they're the ones that don't have any dogs in the fight. They're not making money off of whether or not they give a good review or a bad review. So VGAs nominate Assassin's Creed. They say, okay, we got Ubisoft done. We don't need to nominate anything else from Ubisoft, and that's why Far Cry 3 wasn't on the list. At least that's what I think. That's my conjecture. I can't say that's exactly what happened because I wasn't there. But Far Cry 3, much better game. Ubisoft doesn't deserve to be on any of these lists. And this guy, Voss, Far Cry 3, he was fantastic. I mean, he's just great. I mean, him and Clementine from The Walking Dead are probably the two best voice acting jobs I've seen in gaming in 2012. They were fantastic. They were characters that, long after I've stopped playing Far Cry 3, which I already have because I don't care about multiplayer, I go on and play other games. Long after that, I won't remember anything about Far Cry 3 except Voss, because he's great. Assassin's Creed 3, I will not remember anything from Assassin's Creed 3. It's a terrible game. But, what was I talking about with... I said something about game trailers, didn't I? Oh, yeah. So, I was talking about... You could see it in like, game trailers. Nobody has nominated Call of Duty Black Ops for Game of the Year except game trailers. Why? Because they have publishers to answer to. They have... As I said, they've got to keep playing nice, and it's a recurring theme you see in these big video game review outlets. They always have to play nice. So I don't know really what else to say about these games. Both from Ubisoft. Ubisoft, not a good developer anymore. They used to be. I mean, Beyond Good and Evil, one of my favorite games of all time. But Ubisoft, they've gotten too big. They're like this lumbering giant at this point, where they've become less of a development house and more of a publishing company, which is always a problem with these video game studios. You see it with Capcom. You saw it with EA. Once a studio stops developing and realize that development doesn't matter and it's all about the publishing, they start developing less good games. And it's not because of developers. Developers, programmers, they want to give you the best stuff. They don't want to make a bad game. They're not making games like, let's shovel this out, people will buy, we'll make money anyways. No, it's not developers who do that. Developers want to provide good games. It's the publishers who say, no, you have to do it their way. It's the publishers who say, oh, you want to do that? You know what? The game has to be out in 6 months, so cut it. We're going to hamstring you because we're going to cut that because we don't have time for it. It's going to cost too much money. We're not going to make any extra money off of that, so why do it? You get rid of it. And that's a problem that Ubisoft is having because they're not a developer anymore. They're a publishing house, and they're no longer offering those quality products that they used to. It's the same problem I have with Capcom now. It's why I won't buy any more Capcom games, because Capcom is no longer a developer to me. They're a publisher. They're publishing games, and the games are being developed by other people. They're not even developing Street Fighter anymore. Street Fighter is developed by Dimps, I believe. And it's like, that's Ryu, that's Ken, that's Akuma, it's fucking Street Fighter, and Capcom's not developing Street Fighter? What the fuck is this shit? I mean, Square Enix doesn't even develop Giant Quest anymore. You know, Namco had the same issue. Namco, thankfully, they are recovering from that. They realize their mistakes. They're starting to bring quality games again. I look at the games I'm looking forward to in 2013, and they're almost all from Namco, which is amazing because I didn't like Namco 3 or 4 years ago. I'm sorry, 4 or 5 years ago. I liked them 3 or 4 years ago. But 5 years ago, I didn't like Namco. I said, what the hell has Namco done? They've taken my childhood and raped it in the ass. And now they're taking a step back. They realize they've been doing wrong, and they're fixing it. It's great. Shout outs to Filthy Rich and Namco. Since they hired you, Namco's #1. Well, not, you know what I mean. I mean, like, I'm really looking forward to Namco games. I'm not buying any more Capcom games. Ubisoft is this close to me saying, fuck Ubisoft. One of my most anticipated games in 2013, SimCity, I probably won't be getting because fuck EA Origin. That shit is crap. And, yeah, Ubisoft. What the fuck? And, I guess that's pretty much all I have to say. But, you know, I do stream live. You guys can always follow me. You got my my twitch.tv/8wayrun. It's there. Stream every Tuesday, guaranteed. Well, not today because it's New Year's and last week was Christmas. But I stream. I play video games all the time. You can also follow me on YouTube. I often upload my past videos. And, you know, I didn't upload any of Far Cry 3 or Assassin's Creed 3. Far Cry 3 because it's a shooter and who cares. And Assassin's Creed 3 because I was playing it during Hurricane Sandy, and I wasn't able to get any video for that because of it. And of course, you can always follow me on Twitter. I will post when I go live on Twitter. Keep up with me there. I gave away a couple of Steam codes today on Twitter, so if you subscribe, you have a chance on getting free shit. Don't forget, if you like my videos, click follow, subscribe on Twitch and YouTube. Thanks for watching. You know, I've got no artwork. Like I said before, I did no editing on this video because all my stuff is live, and I just don't do post editing. I don't have Adobe Photoshop. I'm sorry, I don't have Adobe Premiere. I don't have After Effects. I just don't have the skill for it. Everything's live, and that's the way it is. You know, cut, print, upload. That's it. I didn't even write down the script for this. I just talk. Basically, things come to my mind. I just start talking. There's no plan. I'm gonna say I'm talking about Assassin's Creed 3 and Far Cry 3, and this is the order of things because it's what things came to my mind. You know, I don't write rough drafts. It's just let's go. Everything's live. Fuck it. We'll do it live. There's no. I don't do a second take, as Calculine says. Amateurs do a second take. Amateurs like you do a second take. I don't do second takes. So, thank you for watching. Follow, subscribe, Twitter, blah, blah, blah.